Let's have it quiet, please. Thank you, Charles. I would like to thank the management and staff of the Latitude Broadcasting Corporation, that's PLBC, our community radio station that joined here to live broadcast this press briefing. I want to thank you and wish you happy New Year. If today is the first time coming here, you are in the Charles William Press Hall. Charles William was a Liberian journalist, died in 1985 with the discharge of his duty, worked with the broadcasting system. And so, Her Excellency then, President Henry Johnson Secretary Wise, would name the hall in his honor. The Minister of Information, Honorable Jerolinmek Piah, along with the senior management team, further wise to rebrand this hall. And that's why one of my police employees said, every time you come to the ministry, you see strange things happening. That the result will have a whole mat in the system trying to transform the place. I'd like to also welcome Dr. Josiah Docket, the Director General of Civil Service Agency, distinguished police. I have the most singular honor to welcome Deputy Minister Daniel Sando of the National Police. Mr. Sando.
Let me extend greetings to all of you, professional media practitioners, the general Liberian public, and those that are joining us via the radio stations, ELBC, Pram FM, and a host of other community radio stations that are relaying the government press conference across the country. It's a pleasing duty for me. It's always an honor to man this podium, to be discharged of our duties as the entity that supervises and direct communication for the government of Liberia. At today's press briefing, we are going to follow the usual format, or the protocol remains the same. We have two distinguished gentlemen in the lady. We come from the National Commission on Arms. It used to be the Liberia Small Arms Commission, but they changed the law now, so it is the National Commission on Arms. My own big brother, Mr. Ben Wama, is here with one of the commissioners to make the proper introduction when he mounts the podium. And of course, we have somebody who assumed the responsibility at the Ministry of Information, who has been very frequent. I think the MEGA was to honor officials who made maximum use of this platform. That honor will be backed by Mr. Josiah Docket, the Director General of the CSA. All of the reforms that the CSA implemented, those reforms were launched and well articulated on this platform. We want to encourage other officials of government. You can do more than what Mr. Joka has done. It is this platform that has helped to explain to the people, made people to understand the importance, the necessity of the reforms that are leading the CSA to where we are today. So it's good to have you, Minister Piah, to make some very critical remarks on pertinent issues about the country. We heard out there that the US government, as a result of their own foreign policy objective, they issued some restrictions, which is quite understandable. That action has always, and as expected, been misinterpreted by some of our friends who have been very unpatriotic, given the relationship between America and Liberia, and given the number of Liberians that have connection with people in America. The way they are misinterpreting the latest action by the US government is not just unfortunate, but it speaks to the extent to which politics has eroded the sense of belonging of certain people. So I would now want to let the cat out of the bag. The minister is loaded, is ready to speak. So I will now request that you give me your undivided attention. And don't forget to put your cell phone on silent. Some of you guys some very annoying ringtone. So just put your phone on silent or vibration to avoid the distraction, because as we have always said to you, when the press briefing is on, the nation is following. Liberians in the diaspora are following. So let's respect the protocol as I now invite our distinguished minister to the podium.
Thank you, Minister Sandoval. Except that we have multiple speakers, we should endeavor to make the introductory comments short, so that the guests can have enough time to make the presentation. We run almost 30 minutes into the press conference time. So pay attention to the time, we get to the short introductory remarks. But quickly, before wasting time, since I've already established that the time is fast spent, I want to start with the first issue he mentioned. But what I will do first is to read what is the government's position. Yesterday, we're in contact with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. She and I were back to back, and we established the initial response of the government, which we advised that they issued since this was foreign relation matter, and that we could further elevate it after they've done so. So as a result of that, an agreed upon statement from the government of Liberia was issued last by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I will read that and probably make some additional comments, not part of the stricter release that has been issued. So that says the Ministry of Foreign Affairs informs the public that the government of the United States has announced an indefinite pause in the processing of certain immigrant visas for nationals of 75 countries, including Liberia. This measure is scheduled to take effect on January 21st, 2026, and is a part of a review of U.S. visa screening and vetting procedures under the public charge rule. The ministry wishes to clearly emphasize that this pause applies only to immigrant visas and does not affect non-immigrant visas. Tourist, business, student, exchange, and all temporary visas continue to be processed, and existing valid visas remain valid and are not cancelled. The pause affects only visas that will lead to permanent residence called green card, otherwise in the United States, including family-based, employment-based, diversity visa, and other immigrant classifications. It does not constitute a ban on U.S. visa for Liberian citizens. The government of Liberia recognizes the potential impact on citizens seeking permanent residence and is engaging the U.S. authorities through diplomatic channels to seek clarification on the scope and duration of the pause and to advocate for fair consideration of Liberian applicants. As of last night, the ministry could confirm that even interviews for immigrant visa will continue unhindered. Only the issuance of the immigrant visa is paused pending new guidelines to be issued by the government of the United States of America. The ministry encourages the public to rely on official updates. Non-immigrant travel for tourism, for study, for business remains open, and Liberians with valid visa may continue to travel lawfully. And here are the other comments that I want to add. For a good number of years, Liberians play DV. Winners of DV are issued immigrant visas when they are considered successful and pass through all the processes. There are multiple Liberian families who are immigrants in the United States of America. These families been trying to benefit other members of their family. For example, there are male Liberian citizens in the U.S. who are married to Liberian citizens here. So there are married women, married men in America who married to Liberian citizens here that they file in for and will do different processes for. To join them. Remittances from America and from other parts of the world are in the million annually. So even with all these positivities, that process that took multiple Liberians to America and that got the potential to take more than is being paused. And then some people, like they have no conscience, like they've been swallowed by hate and negativity, including people who rely on people in the US to get money. Everybody take it as they say. Celebrate that in an attempt to interpret it as an action targeted at the government of Liberia. And you're supposed to call these kinds of people Liberians? There's no way you can make or remake the history of our country. If you were here yesterday and America sanctioned you, it was about you. They didn't sanction the country. They did not even sanction the government of Liberia or the President Piah. the sanctioned criminal elements of that administration. And those criminal elements are living with the scares of those actions. Even though some of them are attempting to make it already, nothing has happened to them. And they move from radio station to radio station to yelling, believing that they are having conversations. And they try to have a mix of interpretation to say, oh, they said this thing happened during the last weekend, it's happening to them. Nothing happened to anybody. The choices that come with immigrant visa initiative are questionable, they're not government based. The government does not tell your husband to send for the wife or to send for the children. Those are questionable immigration initiatives. In every country, irrespective of the bilateral relationship they have with you, on their own national security and other concerns that they will always work on, even in the midst of having excellent bilateral relationship with you. You hear someone and you get, oh, they say Liberia and America got good relationship, why they pausing immigrant visa? Immigrant visa is not a government targeted situation. When you go in for your immigrant visa interview, they're not government who can get you. You can't even know it. I lived in the US for a while. And the current leadership of the country, both when they were in and out of government, they don't believe that the way immigrant visa have been worked on in the past is okay. In fact, at some point they believe that only people who should be granted immigrant status to go to America, you should have master's degree also. And people country. If they say we want these people that will come here to be so calibrated, how is that a government issue or anybody thing to run around with? So in the midst of all the different opinions they had, they said we'll pause it into a review. When they do their review and they decide to resume, they will. Not by our details, not by what we want. And how is it for Liberia in particular? Didn't you hear that it's 75 countries? Have you seen the names of some of those countries? Strong country from Europe, from Asia, from different parts of the world, with excellent relationship with the United States. Like I can brag that Liberia has an excellent relationship with America. What does that do? What does that have to do with people who we choose to want to go live in America? Only the Americans decide who will go to the country to stay. That is why those of you who are seeking visa not to go and live in America, that no family members are far for you, that your children are not far for you, but you just want to do the regular visiting that has been happening, that process remains open. And when you apply for it, also you can even get 3-year visa because they took that action on Liberia. Yeah. That our visa validity ran from 1 year, or 3 years, 6 months, we used to give some people, to up to 3 years. Who gets the 3 years is purely at the discretion of the consular that you face at the embassy. So the tribe will go there and get 3 years visa. Ben will go there, you get 2 years. Another person goes there, you get 1 year. Another person will get 6 years. Here what they say, when you apply for non-immigrant visa, the visa they can issue will bring between 3 months to up to 3 years. That remains in force. It remains intact. But because we're so negative, one of the first media institutions that reported the news last night, I don't know how many of you saw the headline. US issue suspension on all visas. All. You can't attempt to be disingenuous. You can't reread people's statement on their behalf. How is it that a suspension of processing immigrant visa is equal to suspension of all visa processing? So you believe nobody in the country can read? They will not see what was issued. They will follow you, and whatever you read, because you're the only news people that can tell story properly. always said, and I will close on this, before each of you seated here, begin journalists, you are Liberians first. If your journalistic desire, especially those one with the appetite to tell lies and misinform the public, overshadows the established fact that you are a Liberian and that you owe a patriotic duty to your country, continue. But just be reminded that whenever you tell your lies, we'll be ready on this podium to tell you that you are lying and to provide a counterfacts. Don't be when secretly send a good message, hold the rock or I'm paying my rent. But when something happening to them there, you celebrate it. You don't even understand what people pass through in America. People work hard for their living. You live on their sweat and blood. But anything that affects them calls for celebration on your part. If you're in a cubicle, believing that relationship between the current Liberian government and that of the United States will be strained along the lines, then you got a long time to wait. Because it will not happen. There will be no adverse U.S. action targeted against the Liberian government. Officials of the government will not be sanctioned as your officials were sanctioned. The things you didn't get will get it, including the second compact that is coming. And we'll keep an excellent relationship with the United States. That is what we say. Even acknowledging and accepting the position of the United States government, we continue to engage diplomatically. We count on the excellent relation we have with them. And there will be fruits of those engagements and advocacy. Watch out for it. Why you worry about America? We have a country that we must take care of. If this country is okay, maybe many of us will not think about going to another country today. So we take into due consideration all of the other things, including our international relations, but we continue to do what we're supposed to do here to change this country. LEC have been doing a great job. We want to announce that they have taken the activities of electrifying our country to another level during this period. I know there have been people here who asked about, okay, you're doing street light, we can see street light on the Somalia Drive, we can see street light, so all those things worked on as we speak. The entire single belt street lights have been advanced. Somalia Drive been advanced. They are taking it from the new bridge straight to Simple Bridge. They're doing it in Banjo. They're doing it all across Cinco. Every portion of Monrovia that has been left out of the street electrification process, that exercise has commenced now and it's ongoing in a couple of weeks. Every corner you pass in this capital will be well lighted. Everywhere. The final work we have to do on the RIA highway has been delayed due to shipment issue. We have a serious challenge with shipping things here. So most of the time you observe that the time given for the arrival of the things that we ship here, we keep shifting. So we did the electrification of Rafi Highway. 2 weeks later, we should have all of the equipment that was needed, the additional poles to complete the electrification. There's been shipping issue. So there's a new deadline of the 29th of this month. All the poles, not the lights are here. All the poles that are needed to complete the electrification of the RIA road will be in Ghana on the 29th. It is estimated that 1 week later, they will arrive in Monrovia. Work will then begin immediately. And the end of the road coming from RIA to where the pavement starts of the 4 lane, as well as the remaining gaps from ELW moving downward, will all be worked on. And you will see that entire corridor lighted as we want it to be. While that is happening, the Ministry of Public Works is advancing in its road works. Now that the rains have ceased a little bit, if you live Duraville, you know that when you're traveling along from town to Broadway, the road work has recommenced. The development of proper drainages before actually laying the asphalt on the road. And we'd like to also inform you that the stretch of the road that runs from the new bridge to Freeport, which will be done by the Japanese, have not started because the procurement process is still ongoing. The recruitment of the contractor, the procurement process itself, the awarding of the contract, and the actual commencement of the work, all of those are the responsibility of the Japanese government. It's not money that they were giving us so that we spend it to do the road. It's money that they themselves spend to do the road. So it is because of the delay of the procurement process. That's the reason why the road has not started, as we announced it would have by November, December. The Ministry of Public Works have been asked to send a team to Japan to be part of the concluding processes for the awarding of that contract. And once all of those processes are finished, the work will commence. Their technology is different, so they don't care about rain. When it's raining, they'll be doing the road. So don't be too worried about the time. When you really speak again, they will not start. No, rain is not a factor for them. They've advanced in technology and in the quality of work that they do. That's the reason why, as short as that road is, it costs 20 million. I think around 18, 20 million. Short road, I think 1.5 or 1.8 miles. But at the quality of road, it won't be in their money. If we were ask them to get that money, we go build road somewhere else, we can get plenty of miles out of it. But what they want to do, and we can't question the quality of the road they want to give us. So it really, sunshine, mud falling, when they start, they start. So you can see that corridor being worked on. That's the reason why we're doing our part. Since from Freeport to St. Paul Bridge was not a part of that project, the government is doing so. So by the time they're ready to start your own, we will be finished already straight up to St. Paul Bridge. When they conclude your own, you drive from Broad Street straight up to St. Paul Bridge, paved road, and then under the paved-for arrangement, we start the construction to Clay, to Top Number, and to Bow Waterside. We just wanted to provide you update on that so that we don't spend all our time talking about what our country is doing to control immigration into their country and also focus on what is happening here. Also, I'm just being told that with regards to what I said about what America will continue to do here, there's a visiting delegation from the MCC that is in the country. They are currently holding a meeting at the Ministry of Finance with officials of that ministry. So it just tells you that everything is rolling. So while you're thinking the country is being punished, in your own little thinking, every other thing that's supposed to benefit the country from that angle, from the American people, are continuing. We announced the other day that the infrastructure conference will start on the 19th to the 23rd. I see an update only here, but I don't think we should waste time, even though it appears to be detailed as to what should be happening at the conference. We should not go through that now because I know when you start get up here, I'm plenty talking there, been here. So I don't want to kill the time for them. So Mr. Sano will pause this for another day. The National Legislature is ensuring the conclusion of preparation for the hosting of the President's annual message. By constitutional mandate, the Liberian leader is required to address the legislature on the 4th working Monday of every year. The address will focus on an assessment of the state of the nation and the macroeconomic outlook, concentrating on how the government is stabilizing growth, controlling inflation, and strengthening fiscal health. A lot has happened since the last address. As we've advanced governance, we've ensured reform, expanded decentralization, intensified anti-corruption efforts, and instituted sound public financial management control. We've enhanced national security reform to protect rights while ensuring the safety of all Liberians. These and many more will be properly catalogued when the President mounts the podium at the National Legislature on the 4th working Monday of January. Quickly, the NAFA and the government partners have held a high-level strategic meeting to develop a consultative roadmap for the inaugural National Fishery Investment Conference 2026. It is scheduled to take place from March 30th to 31st at the Farmington Hotel in Margibi. At that meeting, which was held at NAFA headquarters, it brought together multiple government ministries and agencies to discuss collaborative mechanisms to enhance the conference value and outcomes of the Liberia fishery sector. Mr. Sarah Seme, who is the Managing Director or Director General, outlined the conference objective, mainly to unlock Liberia's blue horizon by attracting policymakers, investors, and best practices to foster sustainable value addition in the sector. The LWSC, that's the Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation, announced that it's facing a severe climate emergency that is damaging its infrastructure through flooding, extreme rainfall, and sea level rise. This disrupts services, is increasing costs, and heightening health risk. But as part of this, the LWFC Managing Director has reported progress on governance reforms and online climate adaptation priorities, such as resilient infrastructure and renewable energy. He has expressed optimism that these measures will improve financial sustainability in line with IMF support program. The government has expanded its national cadet program also to the LWSC. They've recruited some youth as cadets, and they have been assigned to the corporation for 3 months in specialized departments including plumbing, biodigester, IT, and environmental science to gain practical experience on the job. And quickly, to conclude, we as a government, we encourage civil society actors who are interested in the governance process and are giving their own interpretation of what they believe has happened. Our work is not to jump up and down in debate with them. It's to listen and see what they say, do a comparative analysis in our own situation room to know what they say versus what the realities are as we enhance and improve government. So we're not going to be yelling back and forth with people. So in this regard, I want to acknowledge the latest report that was issued by NAMO reviewing the 2-year performance of the Waka administration. That civil society group highlighted the strides made by the government in our belief. Whatever they say is what they say. And whatever we know we're doing is what we know we're doing. The main people to know what we're doing and to make determination of what we're not doing, the Liberian people. The trouble from us living in one part of Monrovia in darkness for the last 30 years. All of a sudden he's having light and enjoying courage for the post-serving. Then leave that progress and say, because one group reported say this, so that why you follow it? If each of you sitting here been buying bag of rice for $20 and you're buying it for $14 and you're waiting for one report from somebody to tell me whether something happening, thanks be to God. If the roads that are leading to the different places you live were almost non-existent, they all been paved now, and your own eyes can see, feel, but somebody got to tell you that something happened yesterday, not happening, thanks be to God. And we can go on in all the sectors where we think things are happening. But we acknowledge the report of that government. We want them to remain focused on what they're being called to do independently. We will not interfere. And we're not forced with them for whatever report they come up with. Because all these different things put together makes a government to work better. What we're interested in is a government that will work for our country and the people of the country. Elder Joka.
Thank you, Minister. Well, Minister Piah, I want to say that again, I'm excited. The transformation of this room is something that anyone who mounts this podium has to say something about. And I want to say that you and your team are doing exceedingly well here at the ministry, from downstairs, upstairs. I saw all the changes, the transformation, and we are deeply honored by that. And I want to assure you that just as we did from 2024 to 2025, the Civil Service Agency is committed to coming here and informing the Liberian people, keeping them well positioned in terms of information dissemination about our stewardship. As you know, Mr. Minister, the President charges us to ensure that there's accountability, there's integrity and transparency in every aspect of the work that he's mandated us to do. So this platform, I want to tell you, establishes the basis for all of us in government to be accountable to the Liberian people. My dear colleagues from the Liberian National Commission on Arms, and as a matter of fact, I don't know how it happened, but you know, I worked for the Liberian National Commission on Arms before, but then it was the Small Arms Commission. I used to be the coordinator, what is now the executive director in their new height. So I just want to say to the Vice Chair, Ben, and the Commissioner, Mr. Stobe, it's an honor to be sharing the platform with you today here. Deputy Minister Sano, and that also I want to say, I don't know if I should say it, Assistant Minister now? I think the Assistant Minister, the team from CSA, and I see the team from the LINCA, Liberian National Commission on Arms. Our dear friend, the media, without you guys, we will not be here because we can't be talking to ourselves. Knowledge, information travels through you, and that makes you very critical, very important in our national development efforts. I want to congratulate you for working with the CSA for the past 2 years. I think it's been very rewarding, mutually rewarding, you know, so I want to thank you, and I want to say Happy New Year to everybody. I wish you a happy and prosperous 2026. Mr. Minister, I want to use this opportunity to provide workforce insights from 2025 to the Liberian people on various aspects. And I think this is critical because they deserve it. They need to know what has happened to the workforce since we took over, and especially for the past year, 2025. I will give you some critical insights. Satisfaction is very important, you know. Mental health is very important for any employee, whether in the public or the private sector. So this government being a pro-worker and a pro-family government, meaning that it places premium on the interests, the well-being of its employees, because it is the employees that keeps the fulcrum of the government turning. So the Civil Service Agency initiated several financial empowerment and welfare initiatives in 2025, and then paramount among those, I'll begin with the legal power of attorney, the LPA. We all know the history. You've heard some, you follow us to some of our vendor stores, and let me thank you for that, the media. So we've been able to automate fully the legal power of attorney, and today I want to announce that effective immediately, the paper-based version of the LPA that have existed even before I was born, that paper-based process is hereby discontinued. No, the paper-based process is not going to work anymore because the automated system is in full operation. And we're going to make that formal by doing a circular to all the 100 spending entities of government. So it means that now you don't have to go to stores from store to stores to look for pro forma invoices. All you have to do is to know what you want, what you need, what items you need. Once you are enrolled, our teams have been going from ministry to agency to commission, enrolling employees, and also configuring our customers, point of sale, POS, LPA machines, configuring them, and then making sure that we enroll all of the vendors, the businesses that will be providing the items to people. We have enrolled a significant number of employees, but we're encouraging others to do so. If the team has already done your entity and you are not enrolled, just come to the CSA. We have a desk that's responsible to have you enrolled. So once you are enrolled biometrically, when you appear in the store where you're going to take your items, you will only be verified. That's all through the biometric process, the fingerprint. They bring the machine to you and you are verified. Once you are verified, all your information will come up, and the credit that your HR, Human Resource Director, has given you will show up in the machine. Meaning, if they give you $600, $700 credit to take items to that amount, it's going to show up there. So that's how the entire system is set up. And once you are verified, you go about taking all your items. You just take everything that you need based on the credit that you have, and you walk out of the store. The rest is between the Civil Service Agency on behalf of the government and the banks and the Ministry of Finance. So that's how it works. It's smooth, it's smart, it's fast than ever before. And this is part of our e-governance commitment to the Liberian people, because the transformation now is very significant as far as e-governance is concerned. Part of what we have done to make your life easier, we've had long-term loans, but those long-term loans with commercial banks have been just for 12 months, that's 1 year. Some has been for, a year and a half. I learned that Bloom Bank is just started doing 2 years. But we launched this massive long-term loan scheme, and the facility will be for 3 to 5 years. Meaning now that you can take a loan, the measure of your choice, and within the scope of your income, because there has to be a commitment to repay. And the Civil Service Agency, that's why we enter the agreement with the bank. It's the Afriland Bank, and that process has started. I was in the store and an employee met me and she was so excited. And I said, what's going on? And she said, Dr. Joka, you don't know what you guys have done. I've received the 60% of my loan, and that's the US component, and she was only awaiting the 40% of her loan. So that means that you can take the amount of your choice within that range and build a house and purchase whatever you want to get, something remarkable. You are able to undertake a project. You are able to start your small scale business. That's the kind of empowerment. When we say pro-government, I mean pro-worker and pro-family government, that's what we mean. So we've initiated that, and other banks are going to follow suit. We were also able to do the salary advance. There are 2 banks that are doing it now, but yesterday, during my engagement with about 7 of the commercial banks about how we are proceeding this year, some of the banks confirmed, like even Bloomberg confirmed that the bank giving salary advance 50%, and the bank giving it for like 50% salary, taking up to half of your salary, and the bank giving it for 1% interest. Bloomberg yesterday. So these financial empowerment initiatives are intended to give you the desired satisfaction that you need to keep you focused on the job, and also to satisfy our side of the deal as a government, because we have social contract responsibility with all of you. So on the payroll management side, the Civil Service Agency and the Ministry of Finance have made significant progress. I'm pleased to report that as I stand here, the Controller and Accountant General of the Republic of Liberia is currently at the Civil Service Agency. And anybody listening to me, if you want to test that, go right now, you will see him in my office, even though I'm not there. He's sitting with the CSA team and his entire team. We are now putting in place the standard operating procedures for effective payroll management. You think we did well in terms of paying civil servants on time, improving the process, but it's even going to be better in 2026. So we're putting our SOP in place so that everybody's plays their role, and that we don't have issues with civil servants payment in 2026, and address some of the issues that we experienced last year. Let me tell you that this government delivered on its commitment. When we started in 2025, I stood here and told you that the government was going to initiate the process of integrating long-term volunteers in the health and education sectors into the national payroll system. This government made a commitment by making the money available in the 2025 budget, fiscal year budget. And I'm pleased to report that we've integrated 3,406 combined, both for education and health. So here's what happened. In the education sector, we got 2,148 teachers who were volunteers, some for 5 years, some for 6 years, embedded in the culture of the education system. I'm talking about professionals, many of them with the professionally required certificates, many of them with certificates acquired internationally. They volunteered. And that was so unfair for so many years to them. Those teachers, 2,148, we put them on the payroll. Working with the Ministry of Education, we put them on the payroll. It's a life-changing moment for those people. It's the first time they knew what being on payroll looks like, feels like. The Monrovia Consolidated School System, when we went to verify, the list that was given to us, 704 volunteer teachers, we verified, and we ended up with only 459. We cleared the rest. Many of them were just names, not human beings. Some of them, when we ran the list through our national payroll system, we realized that some of them were working with other entities and claiming that they were volunteer teachers. So we took them off the payroll, those payrolls. So the 459, we immediately requested the Ministry of Finance to create allotment. Graciously, the Ministry of Finance created allotment for 208 in 2025. 208 of the verified teachers whom, if you go right now, you will see in the classroom teaching. The allotment was created. The Civil Service Agency wasted no time, requested for the personnel action notices. Those 28 volunteer teachers were put on the payroll in 2025. They took pay up to December, and they will be taking pay from this January. The 251 remaining from the 459, those ones we requested allotment from the Ministry of Finance. We didn't receive the allotment. I must say that here publicly. And I must apologize on behalf of the Civil Service Agency and the government. We did not receive the allotment. We have not received the allotment. We also asked the Monrovia consolidated school system to send us the personnel action notices of the remaining 251. We are yet to receive them. So it's not on the civil service agency. So this 2026, we have given reassurance to ourselves that the 251 will be processed, because the 251 are real human beings. They are people in the classroom. Some of them have been there for 4 years, for 5 years. And it will interest you to know that I also volunteered for MCSS before teaching MCSS school, but I never knew what payroll was by then. And I never got on the payroll until I left the MCSS school system. But this time it doesn't have to be that way. All those volunteer teachers are going to be placed on the payroll. In the health sector, we brought so many people. The number are supposed to be 1,829. All of them receive pay in December. But here's the point. The last batch, 829, because we cleared them in December and the payroll had already closed. So we had a special arrangement to pay them. We paid the 829, but they are not on the system. So we brought them on the system. They were not on the system at the time, so they're not going to be accounted for in the number. So we now brought them onto the payroll, national payroll system, meaning that they all will be taking pay. So in actuality, the health sector, it was 1,879 that we brought on. But in our report for 2025, we are accounting for 1,050, to be very clear, because we have to be transparent and very accurate with the numbers in the report. That is what we have done, Mr. Minister, with payroll integration. And Mr. Minister, I've never seen that courage demonstrated by any government since I started understanding how government works. Nobody has done that. No government has easily done that. It is this government that has done that. And before the year ended, the Civil Service Agency again received more than 2,000 personnel action notices from jointly vetted healthcare workers across the country, in all the counties. We have those personnel action notices that our team is going to begin to scrutinize, to review for possible consideration for integration. Because you know what? Healthcare is very important. If our people are not helped, then nothing happens in the country. Education is critical. Without the requisite manpower, you cannot do any transformation, any development. We cannot do the things we're doing here. These things were done by educated people, professional people. We have to keep developing our people. So, Mr. Minister, we are well on course with integration. Employment salary top-up. Every day people crying about, the issue of the harmonization and the salary reduction that they experience and everything. Yes, the government is hearing your cry, but we have to do it in segments. When we did analysis on just doing one-time salary top-up in keeping with people pay grade and classification, that was going to cost the government additional, in different phases, 3 scenarios. It was going to cost the government around 90 million, cost the government around 20-something million. You don't have the money to do that right now. The government is having so many priorities, the roads that are very important for our people to move, electricity, we can see them, these are tangibles that government is investing in. So we are doing it in segment to improve the wages and salaries. So we targeted the health, the education, the agriculture, and security sectors. Mr. Minister, I report that in 2025, the government tapped up the salaries of essential workers in all 4 sectors with 23,588 employees benefiting. 23,588. We're talking about professionals, educationalists, security officers. We're talking about people in the agriculture sector, bringing on extension officer professionals for whom we're paying money but people did not exist. We work with the Ministry of Agriculture to clear all those things and put real human beings to work. When we're talking about agribusiness, we're talking about transforming the agriculture sector. The security sector, police officers who are way down there making $99, making stuff, we brought them up. Nobody is making less than $150 and then we'll honor this game. Those who were around 150, we brought them up around 225. Those who were around 225 now brought them around $350. And these are not just numbers we are throwing. These numbers were based on analysis, the pay grade range to make sure you remain within the scope. That's what we're doing. Again here, we launched a historic testing center. We announced it here. July 28th, it was launched. People started to sit the civil service exams. As a minister, I'm pleased to report that 550 Liberians sat the test in 2025. 550. And I can tell you that those who took the test and passed, we have not absorbed all yet, but many of them have been absorbed. I can give you a classic example. If you go to National Disaster Management, Ruth, she was one of the first that took the test. She was one of the first ones. She passed. I even have a YouTube video on them, the first ladies that passed the test. The other lady, Koto, has been deployed at Ministry of Gender. She took it for HR management because that's her specialty, and she passed it, and we deployed her. Ruth took it also in the administrative area at National Disaster Management. Go there, I'm naming the places so that you journalists can follow up. Eric Murphy, you know, he's at the WASH Commission. He took it, he's a procurement specialist. He took the test, he passed it, he's deployed. And this is what we intend to do going forward. So that people who come into the public service, they are professional people who will help the government to deliver on its mandate. Mr. Minister, when we took over, I reported here in 2024 and 2025 that this government reconstituted the Board of Appeal. Very critical for the civil service. It brings back confidence, trust that you're doing your job and you're not looking over your shoulders, that nobody can just dismiss you arbitrarily. Yes, you have a redressal. So when we reconstituted that, civil servants started having the confidence of bringing complaints to the CSA. More than 214 complaints we received. We have resolved several of them. We have reinstated up to 71 as of the reporting period, but it's more than that, almost 80 number, up to 71 that we have on the records. We have reinstated to say you were fired arbitrarily, wrongly, you were suspended arbitrarily, wrong. And these are in the laws. We're not creating them, we're not making them, to ensure protection of civil servants so that they work, you know, without any second thought that anybody would just fire you, take advantage of you or stuff. And we are also making sure that they too are accountable to their bosses, because, you know, where you violate any of the regulations of the rules, and the minister can attest to that. Yeah, we don't joke with that. Yeah, so that has been done. There is a grievance complaint management. There is a complete accountability system. Now it has brought trust and confidence. It has strengthened the trust and confidence, you know, job security, and making sure that it boosts the morale of civil servants. And people are confident. They do their job, you know, the way it's supposed to be done. When we're talking about accountability and transparency, Mr. Minister, you can recall that in February of 2025, His Excellency President Joseph Yuma Boakai Sr. Suspended more than 400 government officials, and immediately he suspended those officials on the same day. I think 2 or 3 hours following, the Civil Service Agency went to the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission website. We pulled down the list of all the government officials concerned, and we blocked the salaries for February. Those whose salaries were already approved to be paid in March, we blocked them in March. Mr. Minister, we created an escrow account working with the Ministry of Finance at the Central Bank of Liberia. And we worked with the MFDP to move those funds into the escrow account. The total as of the bank balance that we provided to His Excellency the President was a little over $90,000 that we raised. The President gave us a mandate that honor his One Child, One Chair project, presidential initiative. We should produce chairs for school-going children using that money. Mr. Minister, I'm pleased to report to the Liberian people that the first phase of the project was completed, which, Honorable Minister, you were a part of the ceremony. We produced a total of 525 decent, high-quality metal and wooden chairs. The pictures are all around with the President, with the First Lady, they're sitting there, you know, on the chairs, and they demonstrated. And that is a demonstration of accountability and also service delivery. We provided chairs using that money. It sent a message that when people are responsible to perform certain tasks or to take the lead in providing leadership, accountability must start with you. And that's what we did. So I want to say I haven't seen that also. It's my first time. A government that is investigating itself and punishing its members at the same time. When you're looking for the real definition of accountability, I think this is it. It's living right here in our country with this government. That's what's happening. So, Mr. Minister, when it comes to the workforce insights in terms of the numbers, last year we reported that based on all our actions, we ended up with 60,900 in terms of the workforce. That's we ended with 2024 with 60,900 in 2024. It's in our annual report. It's on our website. I know a lot of analysts. I know many of them from different places have been having their own numbers throwing it out left and right. But what we wrote is clear, it's simple, no ambiguities. It's in the report, and that's why everything we do is public. We ended up with that after we inherited 67,746, the workforce. We ended up, after all of our actions, we ended up with 60,900 in 2024. Mr. Minister, in 2025, we ended up with 63,130. And I will tell you why. It's so easy to understand. Look at the people we brought on board. These are not names that we just put on board with flat rates to give money to a certain group of people who don't work for government. No. These are not names of people, we just decided to look through the roof, the ceiling, and put them on payroll to give them money. These are professionals embedded in the cultures of the sectors for which they work. These are the people who are contributing to the change that is happening in our country. So when we bring the caliber of people of such magnitude on the payroll, then it means that the government is serious about its delivery of services to the Liberian people. So what are the numbers? Let me break that number down. 63,130. Mr. Minister, of that number, civil servants are 59,018. 59,018, and that constitutes 93.4% of the workforce. Civil servants constitute 59,018, and that constitutes 93.4%. Mr. Minister, appointed officials of the workforce, and I'm saying this because we account for them. We have the payroll with all these people, both appointed officials and civil servants. The payroll is managed by the Civil Service Agency. So we didn't just grab a number from somewhere. Yes. So appointed officials account for 4,112. 4,112. And that constitutes 6.5%. 6.5%. So the 93.4% and the 6.5% makes out the 100% of the workforce I just shared with you. What is the gender implication in terms of distribution? So let's take the civil servants, 59,000. Of that number, 45,277 or 76.7% are males. That's what we have in our workforce. 45,277 or 76.7% are male. 13,000 only, 13, and I will put only, because my specialty is in diversity, equity, and inclusion for my PhD, and I'm always concerned about that. 13,000, only 13,741 are females. Or 23.2% are female. It means there's serious gender implication, meaning that a lot has to be done. Why do we use numbers? At the Civil Service Agency, all our decisions are based on data. So with this information, we know what kind of interventions to undertake to bridge the gap between the males and females within our workforce. Officer, Minister, when you take the appointed officials into consideration, 4,112, which is 6.5%. The gender distribution is as follows. You have 3,509 constituting male, and that constitute 85.3%. 85.3%. Then you have 603, or 14.6%. That constitutes the females. The females. So, Mr. Minister, that's the workforce insight that we are providing to the Liberian people as we start another phase, 2026. But let me say that the Civil Service Agency also was elected as chairman of the Health and Public Service Network of Africa. The current chairman of that network of Africa is Your Homo Seven, the Director General of the Civil Service Agency. And I have been to Addis Ababa to present Liberia's model of public workers integration into the national payroll system, how Liberia is doing it, and how Liberia is succeeding. I was able, as a panelist, to address the ministers of Africa and the Caribbean to present Liberia's model that right now they are borrowing from and replicating in their countries. These accountability initiatives that we are taking has gone across our borders. Liberia is doing that. I also chaired the first meeting in Kigali of members of the network to talk about how we can improve the services to healthcare workers in our country. Again, Liberia's model stood out. That's what we presented. So all of the conversations we are having here, as the minister was discussing about the visa implication and how it's being perceived and how people, have lost nationalistic thoughts and all kinds of things about their own country. And I like the way the minister put it. You are talking against the government and holding the government accountable for that. Some of them in a derogatory way, in a denigrating manner. You could even be a potential candidate to benefit from some of those services. Of course. So Liberia has made a significant impact. Also, as I was saying here in Addis Ababa in my second meeting, Liberia was elected to lead the establishment of the ECOWAS Public Service Commission's framework. We are going to fight to bring West African countries here to initiate a discussion and to have a Monrovia Declaration that will establish that framework that will bring all public service commissions of governments across West Africa. Liberia is taking that leadership. And this is happening because of the the robust reforms that we are instituting in our public service. On that note, I want to start and once again, thank you, the media. You are doing exceptionally well. We can have our discussions, our differences, but that is the importance of democracy, creating the environment, the platform where we can have the exchange of ideas constructively, and then that contributes significantly to the forward march of our country. Mr. Minister, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thanks to you and your team. Thank you.
That's a question. I'm going to take a different tour of my statement because I want to acknowledge the fact that I have a boss who read my script, and for the purpose of accuracy, I want to do it as exactly as he gives to me. Sometimes you don't author something and the question arises and you begin to ask yourself, why didn't I read? More besides, this is about national security. With the subject might have been very kind of arms. That being said, the Honorable Minister of Information and Cultural Affairs, my friend and brother, Jerolinmek Piah, of course, the Director General of the Civil Service Agency, all officials of government, my colleague, the President of Commissioner, a lawyer, members of my team from the Liberian Commission on Arms, members of the 4th Estate, our esteemed citizens of the Republic of Liberia, as well as foreign residents, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by extending my thanks and appreciation to the Almighty God for His bountiful blessings to us as a nation as well as individually. And again express a blessed and prosperous New Year 2026 to the Honorable Minister Jerolinmek Piah and the Mika family. Let me also express similar Happy New Year to you members of the press. Over the years, the press has played critical roles in advising the social, economic, political, and cultural developments of our country, even during the most critical period of time. I'm very delighted, as always, to represent the Chairman of the Arms Commission of Liberia, Honorable James M. Froman, an astute character and statesman who has strongly served his country for more than 40 years. I'm also thankful to my friend and brother, Honorable Jerolinmek Piah, Minister of Information and Cultural Affairs, for giving us this unique platform to talk about one of the decisive but rewarding activities of the Commission on Arms. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, as may be aware, the President of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency Joseph Boakai Sr., on 24th February 2025, signed an Executive Order 141 mandating the Arms Commission of Liberia to register all firearms in possession of civilians for a period of 1 year across the country. Besides, the Commission terms the Executive Order by President Boakai as an essential government decision meant to strengthen national security and to ensure public safety by reducing illicit firearms, including military-style weapons. Distinguished members of the press, let me also inform you that the Board of Commissioners of the Arms Commission, in their wisdom, believe that the Executive Order number 141 is consistent and aligned with Liberia's obligation as a state party to global and regional arms control treaties, such as the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty, the ATT, and the ECOWAS Convention on Small Arms and Light Weapons SAR. The Civilian Arms Registration Exercise, members of the press, is a legal process which is cardinally preventing, managing, and controlling the illicit flow of small arms and light weapons within the borders of Liberia and beyond. Legal registration of firearms is imperative to national development. This is because states who have records of those in possession of firearms, and once it is misused, traceability is easier. For the purpose of history and reliance, the ECOWAS Convention was adopted in Abuja, Nigeria in 2006. Chapter 4, Article 24 in summary, indicates, among other things, that heads of state and government shall establish national commissions for the fight against the illicit proliferation and circulation of live weapons in individual countries and the region as a whole. In this direction, the Liberia National Commission on Arms is one of the most important efforts by the government of Liberia in the implementation of the 2006 ECOWAS Convention on Small Arms and Light Weapons and the United Nations Action on Small Arms. Before I expand on the Commission's mandate on arms control, the immediate past government in 2022 enacted a law establishing the Liberia National Commission on Arms, also with an amended firearms control law. This means that the Commission is the national competent authority with the mandate to formulate policies and ensure the implementation of such policies and measures aimed at addressing the problems of proliferation, diversion, illicit trade, manufacturing, use, distribution, possession, and trafficking of all conventional arms, coordinating and monitoring of all private and public sector efforts to prevent, combat, and eradicate the proliferation, diversion, illicit trade, transfer, transshipment, transit in all conventional arms and weapons within and across the borders of Liberia. Distinguished members of the press, Liberia has demonstrated goodwill to be signatory to both global and regional treaties, and in keeping with treaties, it is just important for us as a people and government to implement some essential components of these global and regional agreements. Because of the perilous efforts of illicit arms proliferation, not just in Liberia but a global challenge, systemic measures aimed at curbing the misuse of arms is very fundamental to Liberia and its partners. Liberia as a sovereign state, and realizing the importance of national security interests, is moving ahead to ensure that the President's Executive Order No. 141 on mandatory registration of firearms in civilian possession is fully implemented. While it is true that the Commission takes full responsibility for the firearms registration exercise, let it be known that the Liberia National Commission on Arms, the Liberia National Police are partnering and both play a major role in bringing the exercise to fruition. Since the civilian arms registration was launched on March 24, 2025, the LNP along with other national security actors have demonstrated positive actions in ensuring that the procedure is fully successful. Please note, members of the press and our precious citizens, in the registration of firearms, that the registration of firearms will cover two categories of civilian firearms, and that includes the single barrel shoulder guns, primarily for hunting, recreational activities, and traditional ceremonies is the first category, while the 1.16 millimeter and 9x19 millimeter pistols are intended for individuals with special needs. And that includes former government officials, officials of government, prominent citizens, private citizens, business people, as well as others with interest. For the Commission to grant the right to possess firearms to any of its citizens, he or she must express interest through a formal application to the Arms Commission. The Commission will give such person an application form to be filled in, including information about the procedure and the list of requirements to accompany the application. In this process, the Commission's intelligence officers and the LNP, along with other national security actors, including local community leaders, will carry out a thorough background check to determine beyond reasonable doubt that one who has applied meets the basic criteria and as such is eligible for firearms. Distinguished members of the press, the Commission and its national security partners are aware of the tedious task surrounding the civilian arms registration exercise. There are those who may want to evade the exercise by establishing what we call black market. Those undermine the Commission's efforts and credibility. Such market would fuel illegal circulation of firearms and worsen security risks and breed criminality in the country. To this end, the caveat is now set. Stop. And that anyone or individual or institution both in this compromise, the full weight of the law will take its course. Let it be known that the Commission and the Liberia National Police, along with other national security institutions, for this arms registration exercise, have stepped up strong security measures to safeguard the process. Our intelligence is strong and will achieve its intended objective without being involved. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, the Commission is strongly determined to work with stakeholders at both local and national levels, raising awareness for our people to do the right thing regarding the arms registration exercise. This is not about one of the obvious. As you may know, in Liberia, there has always been cases on the other side. Let me inform you further, members of the press, that in keeping with the President's Executive Order number 141, the Commission, through the help of local leaders, has embarked on the physical registration of single barrel guns in Bong County. The process is a follow-up exercise, which has some challenges. The registration team of the Arms Commission was able to fully register, approximately marked and admitted into the database 236 single barrel guns for hunters. The registration team of the Arms Commission for Hunters comprises of the Armed Forces of Liberia, the Liberia National Police Small Arms Division, and the Liberia National Commission on Arms. Other security agencies were also involved, but on the basis of specialty and sharing intelligence. More to the registration exercise, the Commission has received hundreds of applicants for people with special needs, but the standard set to obtain license and permit for people wanting the 1.16 millimeter and 19 by 1.9 millimeter pistols are a bit different. People in this category are thoroughly investigated as they go through background checks, submit to special police training, at which time storage as well is considered very high. Distinguished members of the press, the Commission intends to pursue the path of educating the public through relevant awareness, as I'm doing here today, to ensure that the message of arms registration resonates with the people. The Commission will create an enabling environment for our people who are going through the registration exercise. Members of the full state, the Commission headquarters remains open to MOI at all times on what may arise and of interest for the purpose of information. The Commission is engaging the relevant security actors and stakeholders on the way forward, as it is known that the President's Executive Order number 141 expires in February 2026 of this year. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen of the press, the Liberian government is cognizant of the safety of its people everywhere, and will ensure the process leading to our citizens bearing arms under the law being rightfully carried out. Let me again single out, in the strongest terms, this is not about the regular commodity, where everyone applies and believe he or she should be entitled to one. This is not about the common marketplace, this is where we go to buy our commodities. This is about the interest and safety of the state. You will be scrutinized, you will be vetted, and everything you think about you that are secret, we will unearth to ensure that the process is properly done. The Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Director General Choke, officials of government, my esteemed colleague Anthony Vivian Dobe, members of my staff of delegation, and to you, brilliant faces I see, members of the Fourth Estate, I salute for your questions and answers.
Thank you.
So you listen to the two speakers. The opportunity is now yours to put your questions. I'm very sure you took down and you have some questions for our two distinguished speakers.
You have to do so in time. There will be 2 o'clock. When we pass the 2 o'clock mark, it's already 20 minutes to 2, so we are hoping that you can please limit your questions to 1 question per speaker, and then we can have them respond so we can draw the press conference to a close.
Thank you. My name is Darius Kamara. I report for OPF. My question goes to Director, I want to say thank you for the program so far. But my question comes from the side of policy reform.
Policy.
So I want to know, are there any specific policy or structural reforms then consider to improve working conditions, salary, and benefit of civil servants? That's the question. Get to the point.
So thank you. My name is Nandisa. I work for Star TV. My question goes to the Armed Commission. Based on the number you have called concerning armed register in one country, how many arms have you registered since the executive order 141 has been passed?
Thank you. That's the question. Get to the point.
My name is Joseph Selim and I report for the newspaper. My question goes to the Director General of the CSA. On the 15th of December, you not launched, but you provided the personal verification report to some non-ministry agencies like the Ministry of Posts, the Small Arms Commission, and there were some recommendations. For the Ministry of Posts, you recommended that over the 4 employees to be recommended for suspended for dismissal, and 19 should be suspended. And also at the Armed Commissions, you recommended that there were some credential issues where there were a lot of people at that commissions that do not show visible credentials. How far are we with that exercise? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Desmond Moore and I represent Democracy Watch newspaper. My concern goes to the Small Arms Commission. Thanks, Anthony, for that presentation. Now that you reported a total of 236 arms that have been registered since the President Executive Order, how many arms or how many illegal arms that have been recovered? And should, in case the issue about illegal arms remain widespread, should the Commission or will the Commission take full responsibility of institutional failure?
All right. Thanks for coming. I'm Otis Nigeria and I report for South Africa Nigeria to the CSA DG. Can you provide recent statistics on payroll and the amount of public funds saved so far?
Good afternoon, my name is Jackson Alicia Park. My question goes to Dr. Usad Rikai.
You give a record last minute.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Piah.
Yeah, so you made mention of the loan stream, which is very important for civil servants and public workers. Then my question is about the contingency of such that it may not be a burden on the government in the future. In the case of dismissal, suspension, or death, who take responsibility if someone has to take a loan for a year or plus?
So my name is James and I report for Republic of Liberia. My question goes to Joker. Chief, the issues about the one child, one chair policy were introduced as a result of people refusing to declare their assets, and the government took action against them, and that's why I brought the one child, one chair policy. Now, I just posted in government who have not yet declared their assets, and what is the next plan so we can do more chairs for the children?
Thank you.
Mayor from Bakivi.
My name is John, and I work for Quality Newspaper. My questions go to Dr. Chuka. I'm concerned about the issue of decentralization because I listened to you spoke about your employees going at your ministry to integrate those government employees into the business system. Are you thinking about decentralizing your staff in those rural places? Thank you.
That's perfect.
Good morning. My name is Joseph Sadi and I report for your the question goes to Summative Commission. Sir, I want to know, since you are I want to know, since you are at the Summative Commission, were you able to identify maybe within the registration process or who were those that were not affected, they had maybe character or some kind of scandal on them? Were you able to identify some since you're at your SNC at the commission?
My name is Gabriel Biwachino, and I report for Assembly and Work. My question goes to the Commission Osman. How often can the arm be renewed or be re-registered after a previous registration?
Yes.
My name is Arina Ikoyi and I report for the XFM. My question is directed to Minister Piah. Minister Piah, we always come here and then we are getting out some of the initiatives that institutions or agencies are undertaking at their various institutions. That we want to know what are some of the initiatives that the Liberian National Housing Authority headed by Madam Florence Gibbet. What are some of those initiatives that NHA. So that's my concern.
Good afternoon, my name is Christopher Desmond, and I report for TrueLiberia. My question goes to the Summa Commission. With the presentation made, we didn't hear anything about your offices in the 15th political sub-region of Liberia. So I want to know, how do you go about soliciting information when it comes to illegal accounts possession? Thank you.
Okay, so this is going to be fast because, and I will take the last question first since there was some decentralization in services. As I speak to you, I'm leaving from here running to the CSA. Today we are presenting the report here alluded to. We are presenting the personnel and credential verification report of the National Bureau of Concession. Yesterday we sat with them and did a post-verification engagement. They made all their inputs. We finalized the report. So officially, we are doing our report presentation today. And it's intended to improve the personnel system of the institutions. And I agree with you. Decentralization is still an issue. And it's a challenge. I'm going to say this publicly. We have regional offices. The first thing I would say is that only one of the offices belongs to the government, the one in Toppenberg for the Western region. You know, that's for Buffalo, Cape Mon, you know, and bombing. And it's right in Toppenberg. So this government has put money in the budget for us to renovate the one in bombing, you know, make it fully operational, functional, put in all the infrastructure that we need. But the other three offices across the country are still being leased. It is something that we are discussing with the Ministry of Finance so that the government can have our own civil service regional offices, because civil service takes care of the workforce, and many of the services should be provided within the counties and the regions. We don't have to burden our people to be coming to Monrovia as a national service center, no. So we are working on our decentralization plan, and I'm very hopeful that this is going to yield positive results in terms of getting the resources to decentralize. But for the LPA, which is your focus, and I understand that our teams are going from ministries, agencies to commissions here in Monterrey. We are going to officially launch the LPA as we officially launch it here in Central Liberia, in Banga. Meaning that we are bringing all the stakeholders, we are bringing the vendors from those counties into Banga. When we officially launch, our teams from the regional offices will also be trained, as we have trained the teams here, to deploy the POS, LPA POS machines that will be configured for the businesses in those places. Our people don't have to come to Monrovia to benefit from the LPA system. No, it's going to be decentralized across the country. So the One Child, One Chair project, let me clarify that the seizure of salaries from some of my colleagues did not establish that program. That program was established prior. The president already had that in place. All the president mandated us to do was to produce additional chairs under that arrangement. So it was on the basis of that we purpose, based on the amount that we raised, to produce about 1,000 chairs for the kids under the One Child, One Chair presidential initiative, which was already established before the seizure of the salaries. But talking about whether or not we seize more salaries, we don't hope, we don't pray to seize more salaries. No. In the event that it happens, yes, we'll move there. Currently, we're working with the LRA on the tax regime, how people should pay taxes and to ensure compliance. So those kinds of things we do. It is realistic, but we don't go looking for people who violate, so we collect money from them. No. If the president takes action and part of it has to do with our mandate as the civil service agency managing the government centralized payroll, then we implement. The loan scheme, you talk about the facility. If people happen to benefit from the loan, say Mary takes a loan and of certain amount, and they have to be dismissed. So all of these things are in the agreement that we enter into with the banking institutions. There are collaterals that are provided by the employees. The civil service agency is just making sure that the process is coordinated. It's coordinated so that we can give security to the banks, because we have the payroll. Anything agreed to in terms of how much you pay through your repayment arrangement, the civil service makes the deduction before your salary is paid. But don't forget also that when there are death-related issues, we keep you on the payroll for like 3 months. So part of it goes. It's not just for the loan, but for other financial facilities that you are benefiting from. Those are some of the securities. And these things are not done just between the individual employee and the banking institution. It is an agreement between the CSA and the banking institutions on behalf of the employees. So there is security, there is guarantee for payment. So Otis, you talk about payroll, cleanup stats. So what we're going to do, part of it, the focus is going to be on 2026. As I speak to you, we have already requested our payroll section to run. Every time we begin the year, we can run what we call the deduplication system through the payroll, so that it identifies everybody who have duplicate accounts. Say if you have shared bank account, Minister Piah and I have the same account no matter our salary go into. That's a cause for concern. That system will flag. Sometimes we found up to 150 people with that situation on the payroll, so we are about to run it. When we also run it, we found people who actually their names on the payroll 3, 4, 5 times, double dipping. We'll do that at the beginning of the year, and we make sure that we get that information. But there are other initiatives we're taking. People are now smarter from what we did in 2024. Going to work, staying there, making sure that their time is accounted for, And then the HRS, 10% was being deducted from HRS. If you don't submit your report on time, it was being deducted. All those things stay within the system without pulling that out. People, according to the Human Resource Policy Manual, people receive deductions. If you stay away for 3 days, unexcused, the policy manual says how much should be deducted. Those things are happening. Prorating of salaries, we're doing that. But in terms of the total, that analysis is going to be captured in our annual report that we are publishing shortly. I don't want to be calling numbers from my head, but everything is detailed in our annual report that is coming. Next week, we'll be printing the annual report, and we might even present the annual report here as we did in 2024. We presented it right here. This was the first place we brought a batch of our annual report and presented and discussed. So we go to Joseph. Joseph, you talk about the verification reports, recommendations being implemented. Indeed. And I'd like to say that we have conducted the personnel and credential verification at close to 40 entities. We have presented the reports. Each of those entities, we have a specialist from CSA assigned to them to guide them through the implementation of the recommendations, including the Liberia National Commission on Arms. I don't know, coincidentally, you highlighted the link here. I can tell you truly that we have had the post report presentation meeting to tell you the extent of the seriousness of the implementation of the recommendation. If you go on the CSA page right now, you're going to see it. If you go on my page right now, you see it. My official government page, you will see it on social media. We had a meeting with the chairman, with the vice chairman, with the commissioner at the Civil Service Agency on the implementation process. This meeting was just held just a few days ago. So I can tell you that the recommendations will be scrupulously implemented. Some of the places that operated internal payrolls, supplementary payrolls, our recommendation said you should collapse them. We are working with them this year. They have submitted now the additional payroll to collapse the payrolls into one payroll. It's by law, and we are implementing them. So implementations are going on. So somebody asked, that's the last question. It was first, but it's the last. That's Darius. Yes, Darius asked specifically if there are policies to improve salaries to improve services and wages for employees. Yes, all the reforms we are taking, the reforms are ongoing because of policies. We develop the policies, we adopt the policies, those that require approval, presidential approval, they are approved. For example, the national consultancy policy. When we took over in 2024, what happened? We realized that 1,000 consultants were being paid $6.1 million. We shut it down. We reformed it. We developed a policy officially launched by the president that has improved consultancy from 1,000 today. I can report to you only 103 consultants are across the entire government. From $6.1 million, only $1.6 million that the government is paying. That is significant. So what it's doing, focusing on performance linked to payment. Otherwise, you're not going to be paid. So we have the CRMT that we have developed, the Compliance and Integrity Management Division of CSA is the one that's going to be responsible for all civil service related accountability integrity processes. That's a policy, it's being adopted, and now the division is being set up. So yes, all those things will ensure that what people deserve is what we earn. Qualified people are brought into the system. Yes, there are policies. There are many, but I'm not going to take up the time. But I want to say thank you very much to all of you who asked the questions and all of you who attended.
There's a DD.
Yeah.
FBI in a few minutes before they go to the news. But I just want you to be fast with the question I want to ask before Ben comes.
Okay.
Because we who are managing government institutions, we have a problem with that. In June, when government employees were paid, there were a number of persons whose pay were short by second.
Yes.
In the Ministry of Information, 9 persons were affected by that. From June to now, they've not been paid. In December, when you were changing from
The
160
to the CSM.
there are multiple people across government, including here, who did not get paid and they have not gotten paid. What has been done to resolve these two issues?
Okay, so we made special requests. We made special requests to the Office of the Comptroller and Accountant General to address the issue, because First Minister, the problem has been the allotment. I know that they were argued that it's in the compensation line. Yeah, but even if it's in the compensation line, when we pass the pay period, for accountability purposes, when such request is generated, IAA has to approve and give us certificate before we can even develop vouchers to go to the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. So that process now is going to be changed. It's one of the reasons why the CAG is at the CSA right now. That's one of the critical issues we identified from 2025 to arrest the situation and make sure that we don't create complications. Complications in the sense that when they miss it, when we develop the voucher to go to Ministry of Finance rests back and say, where is the allotment? And the reason is that some of those monies were being moved. They were being moved, especially when 1 month passes, 2 months passes, some of those amounts can be moved to different, it's not the CSA, can be moved. And sometimes the Ministry of Finance will give justification for that hanging to improve your own compensation. I think you heard the ministry saying before that institutions should live within, their compensation structures. But that's not an excuse. It is an issue that I am recognizing, and I appreciate the question, but something is being done to address that situation so we don't experience it in 2026. Those in that situation, we are generating a special request and saying what the requirement is to pay them those amounts that we owe them. There are a few of them around, like you mentioned. Thank you.
Real quick, here, let me say this very quickly. On the issue of decentralization, I don't know who asked the question. We are presently located in Baku County, Lofa County, and Dalfon County. So we are in 3 counties at the moment. The issue of decentralization is not just about grabbing your bag and moving somewhere. You're talking about compensation, you're talking about accommodation, and the way forward. It's a big process, as opposed to just being perceived as an event undertaken by somebody. On the issue of taking responsibility for illegal weapons, let me tell you my real side of it. I hate liars. I hate criminals. I hate people who try to behave as if they're smarter than the state. There's no one smarter than the state. And this caveat goes to those who are in the habit of believing and thinking that they can keep weapons without bringing their weapons for registration. Stop. Because upon the expiration of the Executive Order 141, stronger measures will be taken. I have personally placed calls on people to come. Not just that, but there are people holding weapons and having expired licenses and permits. What are you doing that for? What is the primary reason for which you don't want to be accounted? The Commissioner of Arms is not there to just sit and talk about mere registration. This is not a school process. It's about security. If you are in possession of a weapon and you can't come up, at the end of the day, when we figure out some of the consequences, the press or journalists ask me whether we're going to take some responsibility, you will take credential responsibilities. This is not about trying to appease you. This is about national security. I repeat, come out. Be civil enough. Be nationalistic enough. No one wants to insinuate, and let us not be perceptually driven. It's not about you. Now they say about me or her. It's about the country. It's citizens and foreign residents as well. We're talking about security in nature. The issue of guns, and you want to sit there and think that somebody will appease you to come to register the weapon? We have records. I am not going to disclose to you the records we have and the individuals we know. We have placed calls on them, some former government officials. You better come out. I'm again calling you. You better come out and stop the shenanigans. We will not appease you. That is not about appeasement. With those people who are in possession of guns, have to come out. And we are very unapologetic about this. There's no other way we're going to say it. There's no other way we're going to paraphrase it other than telling you, be civil, be nationalistic, come out and do your registration. We want to know what you have.
To those in hiding, we already know what you have. When the time comes, this is a government. I'm a lawyer who will obtain such warrants and will move on you. Whether you like it or not. This is a caveat. Whether you former officials of government, you better come out. There's a flip side of it. And we're very serious about it. On the number of weapons received during our registration process, I mentioned it, 239, but I'm talking about hunting guns in one county. In Monrovia, we've received applications for special needs. That is the point I'm making. We don't have hunters here. So there are people here who have guns. Our records shows in the database that there are people in Monrovia who has guns. We are appealing to you to come. Use the president's executive order. Number 141, let this period of time encourage you to come forth. Because they are exempt. They can be exempted. Nobody will ask you and stop. To those of you quick to misinterpret, misinform, and spread the lies, stop. Now, one Liberian or foreign resident will be held accountable in any wrong way should you come out to do your registration within the period as enshrined in the president's executive order. But when you think you are Superman or Superwoman and you can maneuver your way, you're on the wrong trajectory. Honorable Minister of National Defense, members of the full estate, I thank you. I mean, Honorable Minister.
You know, LHA office, go there, have Florence say, what do you not do? I want to. In fact, I'll say, yeah, making you me. Now, who has a question? Yeah, go to Florence, we'll tell you what you can do. Yeah. Hey, fair. I'm going, I can tell you what they tell me. They want to tell me that I can say it. They have put it up, in fact, they come to together and they told me from any day. If you know Florence, I can sing to carry this, so you can have conversation. Okay? Come on, good day.